Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to our continuation in our discussion of how the Cold War has an impact around the world. We've already talked about some of the major events in the early stages of the Cold War. We've talked about how decolonization had a direct impact on India and the creation of Pakistan. Now we want to take a look at what happens to the places around that. What happens in the region surrounding a place that's been decolonized, and how can that ultimately have an impact on how those places develop? To do that, we're going to take a closer look at the country of Afghanistan. Okay, so when it comes to Afghanistan. We're going to be looking at this sequence here. I'll kind of talk you through that to introduce you to what it is that's been happening, what it is that's going on here. Okay, so we've already talked about decolonization in India and how partition there really led to fear within the country. You had some ethnic tension that had already been built up by the British while they were ruling India. And now that's turned into fear because partition can break groups up. It could make groups that were majority now minority. There's a lot of fear that goes along with that for individual ethnic groups, individual religions, individual cultures. As that fear grows, each of those individual groups feel starts to feel that militarism is the way to go. In order for us to protect what we have to become more militaristic. We have to have a military presence. So you start to see a lot of these smaller individual groups that maybe wouldn't ordinarily have a large military presence are going to start to build that. Now, that militarism then is going to lead to the larger nations becoming more and more militaristic as well, which leads to the development not necessarily of more military, but more ways for that military to operate. Things like nuclear missiles are going to be stockpiled as a result of militarism. They're going to start to put more money into their militaries. Hey, if these smaller groups are going to do this, we've got to be doing this too, and we're going to just overwhelm it with money. And that's also going to lead to what we call proxy wars. Lots of wars are going to be fought not between the two larger countries, but between groups that are going to be supportive of the larger country. The Korean War, for example, that would have been a proxy war. The United States supporting the Democratic South, the Chinese, the Soviets supporting the Communist North. So obviously, you've got these wars that are going to be fought. That's going to lead to instability in these different regions. So in a place like Afghanistan, you're going to see the different tribes, the different groups that are living there. They're all going to decide, hey, we need to look out for number one, and that's going to lead to instability within that country. That instability combined with the proxies are going to lead to rises in religious extremism. Your religion and a very fundamental view of that religion is going to lead to you being more powerful. You being more powerful means I have more control over my own destiny. You see a lot of religious extremism coming about because of a lot of this militarism. And that's going to lead to groups like the Taliban coming to power in Afghanistan, which is going to lead to the planning of events like 9/11. Okay, so now that we have that in place, what you're going to do is you are going to go and take a look at this history blueprint reading with its focus being in Afghanistan. You're going to see there are some of the readings that are marked out. We're going to skip over those. We're just going to focus on the three that are left over. While you're reading, keep these questions in mind for each one because ultimately those questions are going to be the focus of what we want to get out of each one of those readings.